Hey guys, welcome to a very special video today because today is the anniversary of D-Day, the 80th anniversary. Most of you are aware of that because if you're a gun collector or a historian of any kind, you know about D-Day. Now, I'm excited to say that for the first time in my life, I'm visiting Normandy in October. And actually, Captain Joe Sacchetti is going to be hosting the trip. Well, let's start off by you tell us a little bit about the trip.
Well, we're very excited. What a great opportunity. We're going there on the 80th anniversary of D-Day, 1944 to 2024. We're going to be there on October 16th. We're going to spend 4 days in Normandy, and we're going to see the sights. And as we have mentioned before, when you stand in the American cemetery at 16:30 for the playing of taps and the lowering of that flag that commemorates the 500,000 soldiers that came on the shores to help win the war, it's a super somber moment.
If we are taking some people, we're taking like 18 people with us?
That's right. We've got room for 20, and we've still got a few spaces left. We'd love to have folks join on.
And the description below, there is a link to get a hold of Joe if you have questions about the trip, and certainly if you want to sign on. The cutoff will be sometime in July?
Yeah, July 16th is probably a date we'd like to have everyone signed on.
So if you've been thinking about it and mulling about, it's time to make a decision. And before I move on to this gun, because this is a Paratrooper M-1 Carbine, and it may or may not have been, it was issued around the time of D-Day. I can't say it was at D-Day, but it is a used gun, and we're going to take it out and shoot it. But before I do that, I want to make sure we honor those who sacrificed so much on D-Day. I know for some people would say it's a day of celebration. Certainly the people of France, I know how much they love it when you come over.
The French people absolutely love Americans and Brits because they know that we helped win the war and change lives forever. And back here, it's a somber day. It is a good day of celebration because we've got freedom in the world, but there are still folks that have grandparents that served over there, and some gave the ultimate sacrifice, so we honor them today.
And even those who live, which was the majority, did live, but I hear comments from a lot of you will say, my great uncle, my grandpa, he was there, he never talked about it. And when you've been in combat, I haven't. When you've been in combat, there are people who come back that are deeply scarred. And certainly, if you know of a good cause in terms of helping with mental health issues with vets, that's a huge issue. I know I personally give to some organizations that help take care of vets, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
I do. I love it. And it's not the craziest thing to say, hey, Grandpa, thanks for what you did to help save the world. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but boy, I bet you Grandpa hasn't heard that in a while. And there's too few that are left here. And you're right. Wounded Warrior Project and Three Rangers Foundation are two that I love, and there's just a ton of good organizations out there.
Okay, I know you're looking forward to shooting this. I don't believe you've ever shot one before.
No, an M1 Carbine. I love it, and in fact, I love the fact that you have the Paratrooper version.
Yes.
It's near and dear to my heart. I love the M1 Carbine because I think you've told the history before. The M1 Garand was the standard type of weapon that had been used for 200 years of battle, since revolutionary times. It was some version of a long, heavy rifle. And then along comes the M1 Carbine that is a lot lighter, and it doesn't shoot as far, but that's okay. And it turned out to be this amazing weapon. And then you even have the Paratrooper version, which takes it from being short to jumpable short.
Right, and this is a gun show video, and so I know how much you guys like to look at guns. This one comes in the original cover case. You can see it's US mark, but it's also dated. You can see here it's Atlas awning, and then there's a date 1943. Now, Atlas awning, just as you would suspect, this was made by an awning company. You know, the awnings, they make canvas awnings over shops and windows. Well, this company, of course, every business during World War II was all hands on deck. Everybody's helping out. So this company made these cases, and they made others, but Atlas awnings. And I've also seen even ammo cases and things like that were made of canvas. And then this is the gun inside. Oh, I should mention this little covering. It will snap onto the end of the muzzle. Kind of acts like sorry, I hate to say it. If you're over 18, this is like a condom. Put it over and it helps protect the muzzle. If you land in the mud or water.
Got to keep it dry and clean.
A good comparison. So that's on there just in case you want to use it. And then this is the M1 Carbine Paratrooper version. As most of you would know, the reason it's a Paratrooper version, and you'll talk a little bit about this case and how it fit on your leg, but this pops out, and other people have used this classic design for making a short barrel rifle into a carbine just by folding the stock. Now, what you would expect to see on original one, you're going to see some dings on here, and especially right here, because this is always going to hit. When we ship these out, we always wrap some kind of padding on there. And this one is pretty special because it's all original configuration. I want to say a little bit about all original configuration because it can double the value. 99% of the carbines that you see are going to be the later configuration. And now these are messed with, by the way. So if you don't have the original configuration, there are people who are experts at turning them back into the original configuration. And when it almost doubles the value, or in some cases does double the value, it's sometimes profitable to tick it back to its original configuration. Here's one reason I don't think this was ever converted. What you will see when they've been converted, one of the things you notice right away is the bayonet lug. And when that goes on, it's on there tight. And when you take it on and off, it'll scratch this up and you will see a line, a discoloration here, or a hard line, and you don't see any of that here. So I believe this is all original configuration. The other noticeable alteration is the sight. At the end of the war and after the war, they used this flip sight, and we're going to go shoot this. I've shot an M1 before, so I know the flip sight, that's for elevation, but there's no adjustment back and forth. This, however, you can adjust it up and down by sliding the peephole, or you can adjust it right or left. This is a very good change, as is the bayo lug, because people said, you know, you never want to do hand-to-hand that close. The rifles that I like to look at, you know, Revolutionary War, first of all, they're 6 feet long, and then the bayo is another four feet. Not quite. But it's a big, long sucker.
That's right. But when you were in tight, if you found yourself in tight quarters, close range in the jungle, you might need that bayonet. So that was a nice alteration. I'm excited to shoot this, by the way. Which one are we going to shoot? This Paratrooper version? We are going to shoot the Paratrooper version. There's one thing I want to ask about. You are a paratrooper, but not lately. We all say I am a paratrooper.
Yes.
I'm just not currently on jump status.
Okay. So you've jumped out of a plane. There's a lot of great movies about D-Day, by the way. My favorite since Saving Private Ryan came out, nothing touches it. It's so emotional. When I watched it at the theater, nobody moved at the end of it. They just sat there and stunned. You know, like nobody clapped, nobody said a word. Everybody just sat there in honor of what we saw happen. But on that one, they tell me it was pretty accurate. And the reason you know it's a high budget, well-researched movie, which the people involved in that movie, certainly Tom Hanks, they are pay attention to details. You watch a war movie, a good quality war movie, you won't see a bayo lug. You won't see the adjustable sight. They will be original configuration. Most of the other schlocky movies or low budget films or back in the day, you'll see World War II, guys with rifles with the bayo lug, and I'll say, it's not accurate. Not a big deal, but it's something to watch for. And so I think it's The Longest Day is the other one. John Wayne, there's a bunch of stars. It's a lot of stars in that. The Longest Day was the best movie before. I love that movie. But in one of the scenes, I think it was The Longest Day, the paratroopers are coming down, and as they're coming down, the Germans are down here, I guess, shooting up at them, and they're shooting down at the Germans. And I thought, that wouldn't have happened. Could you really pull out your rifle and shoot the enemy as you're falling to the ground?
Well, you've asked a great question, and in point of fact, you could do that. And that was realistic. And all you have to do is understand the evolution of how the paratrooper came to have that weapon in his hands when he's coming down on the parachute. One, the M1 Garand, which was the standard weapon, was 44 inches long. And I'm going to stand up for this. If you have a 44-inch weapon, that's going to come mid torso. It's way too long as you put a case on, strapped twice, it's going to break a leg or dislocate a shoulder. Then comes along the M1 Carbine, which is now to 35 inches, which is a lot shorter. And then the beautiful, thank you, accommodation of the folding stock of the Paratrooper. Now, this is 24 inches and can fit in the bag so it doesn't break your leg. But you've seen at least a couple of movies where a sergeant comes around and zips this out of the bag, tosses it to the ground, and hands it back to the soldier. So they would jump weapon exposed, tied also in 2 spots. But if you really wanted instant gratification and you needed, you'd load your weapon before you exited the plane. Technically, that's a safety violation, but this is war. And you would unhook it completely and wedge it in between your equipment and the reserve parachute. So that, and you'd have it on a lead so it didn't fall. So you were able to take it and fire down. So yes, that could have actually happened.
See, I thought that was totally bogus. So I want to say a couple more things about this rifle, but then we need to take it out and shoot it. In particular, I want to mention this was made in 1943. It's dated, made by Inland. All the paratroopers were made by Inland in the original configuration. Again, people swap out parts later, but a true paratrooper should be Inland. This is dated 43, which means it was issued before D-Day.
That's right. They're absolutely the real deal, because the folks that were gun lovers, appreciators at the time, marveled at the fact that Inland could come up with such a good model based on the Army specs, and it got much wider acclaim than just the support troops that they thought were going to use it.
And it shoots it's a 32 caliber as opposed to you mentioned the Garand, that was a 30-06, much more powerful round. But I know from shooting these are pretty accurate as long as you're not over 100 yards away.
That's right. Here's the difference. Close range. People use that term a lot. Close range, 75 meters or less. And it was a surprisingly accurate weapon. And that's why people continued to use it. It continued to be used into Korea and even by special forces as late as Vietnam.
Thank you. And one last thing I want to mention, because Inland is here. One interesting thing, you can see Inland because it's not covered up. And they also, Winchester made them, quality hardware. You could always see who made it, but on these redone ones, I'll show you something you probably didn't know. It covers up, like when I say, who made that one, I can't see in there. So how do we know somebody just doesn't take this stock and put it on a other piece of hardware? One of the things that I look for as well is the serial range. This is a 6-digit serial range. Most of them you're going to see they're in the million and over, but this tells me it was an early 1943. That sounds like end of the war, but that's early for the M1 Carbine. It has an oiler here. There's a couple proof marks you want to look for under here. Bruce will find it, but you can only see an I, but there's an IO. Inland, that's actually Inland Overland, I think, but that's the correct symbol. If you take this off, it'll also be stamped IO under here. And one last stamp, and I'm going to teach you something you really have to watch out for. Believe it or not, there are people who fake these to make money. Who would have thought? You can barely see it. I don't know how good your Ranger eyes are. There's a P proof right there.
Okay.
It's very, very faint.
Right on.
What happens is, just like when you have a sofa on a carpet for a long period of time, it makes a dent. When you pull that away, over a period of a year, 2 years, 3 years, it starts to lift up again, and that dent that was real obvious becomes less and less. That's what happens with these stamps. So we have had, the first time we saw a really good quality repro, I couldn't tell other than the stamps are crisp and deep. And so I'm looking for a faint stamp, also the IO. You can just see over the time, it should show that softening of the stamp. If it's real crisp, real deep, be careful. The other thing they can't get right is this leather. This is a cheek pad, and hopefully it's not up against my cheek, but that should be discolored as well as the brass. And on the repros, it's a really bright tan, and the brass is even shiny. Now, of course, people age them, so there's all kinds of things to work to work on these. The best tip I could give you is buy from a well-known quality dealer who knows what they're doing, and they're not going to rip you off. We've been selling these in the $5,000 to $6,000 range, so you're spending a lot of money. It is an investment, and hopefully one that increases in value. And what a great piece of history. That's enough for now, unless you had anything else?
Well, it's worth saying that when the M1 carbine came out in 1941, then first used in 42 and then produced in 43, handed out to the soldiers who would jump into D-Day, it was an expensive weapon. It was in adjusted dollars, almost $1,000 then. And so it was a lot more expensive than the other weapons. Now add 80 years to that, and a weapon that's in such good shape. I'm excited to shoot this. Now, I've heard that you're a pretty good shot. Now,
I don't know who told you that.
I've heard that you also say that you're not a good shot. I think you might be sandbagging a little bit, but I'm very excited to shoot this. And now, has this ever been shot since it's been in your?
I'm sure it has been shot, but not by us. We generally don't shoot any of our weapons unless something, like our cameraman Bruce. Every time something new comes in, he likes to go try it out. But no, this has never been shot by us.
Okay, well, this is going to be interesting to see. A lot of times we talk about factory settings on the site. You've got a hard flip sight there. I see that it has an initial adjustment slightly to the left. So a soldier somewhere has fired that. But for our purposes, since we've never fired it, we're going to consider it factory sight. So it's game on between you and I.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bring it on. Okay, we're here at the Armory, my favorite place to shoot. This place is beautiful. If you watch our previous videos, we've done a lot about the Armory. Today, for D-Day, we want to shoot this World War II era, maybe a D-Day, M1 Carbine Paratrooper. And of course, I brought Joe with me. I sure hope that you shoot better than I do, because otherwise my tax dollars went for nothing.
Well, don't fret, because we're going to take a look at this weapon and see that it comes with the factory settings, and let's see how we can zero it in and hit the target.
Okay.
I have a feeling you're going to do pretty well.
Well, I'll just sit under your tutelage and see what happens. All right, so you'll wait to get up front there, put the magazine in, rock it.
All right, good. I see you've...
I'm going to put on my protection.
Thank you for unfolding the stock in here. And what I love about this is that it's a cool 35 inches, and it's great at close range. Let's see. And now, have we fired this recently?
Not been fired in our possession.
Okay. Thank you for loading the clip here. We're going to pop that right in.
Some people would say that's a magazine. They get a little testy about it.
All right. Let's have a look. The first thing I'm going to do is put a couple shots down range, and then we'll bring it in and see how close we are to zeroing this.
Okay.
All right. I'm dying to see if this gives us a good shot group right out of the factory.
Right.
Now, of course, this weapon was issued in 1943, and it's got a lot of wear on it. So I can see that this has been used in combat. It's very difficult to adjust those sights. So basically, you have to zero it on your own. Our shot group right here, we take 3 shots. We really get all 3 in a tight area. We're going to discard this one right here, but these 2 pretty close to the center. So guess what, Tom? This is a nice weapon.
Okay.
You've got it. So pretty much we can aim it where we want it.
Okay.
Now, a lot of guys, the way they shoot versus the factory settings will tend to go up and to the left. And guess what you have to do on a weapon that can't be sighted? You have to aim down and to the right. And a lot of people couldn't get that squared away in combat, but they learned quickly.
Right.
That they learned the hard way.
Okay, why don't you take 10 shots, and then I'll take 10, and we'll see who's the better shooter.
Okay, let's do it. All right, Tom, I am ready to empty this magazine in here, and I'm really liking this. This feels good. The smell of cordite and sulfur, just like old times.
All right, let's bring it in.
Okay, I love this shock grouping right here, and I'm happy that we got everything within a little disc. If I had the opportunity to zero this weapon, I would just bring it, I think I'd go up 2 clicks and to the right 2 clicks to be right there. But when you're zeroing your weapon, you're really looking for a tight shock group. Even if the tight shock group was way over here, you get the weapon to bring it in
This
there.
was definitely a hiccup.
I'm going to call that an outlier.
That's an outlier. Well, I'm going to get a new target.
Okay.
We'll put your name on this one, and we'll see what mine looks like.
All right. Okay, Tom, it's your turn to zero. Let's see how your eyes work with the factory settings.
I'll give it my best shot. Isn't there a song about the Army Ranger, something like, I want to be an Army Ranger? Is that it?
Yes, and the next line is, I want to live the life of danger.
All right, let's do this.
All right. I can't wait to see how Tom is done. I have a feeling he's been sandbagging this whole time.
I will say, on the first shot, I jerked it, which I know. The second two, I thought about it and just squeezed. But there's that tendency to go because I'm bracing and
that first shot is often the outlier.
That could be the out.
Okay.
That was the. There's 2 shots.
Okay, so this is so similar to the last of mine. Your outlier went just under here.
Right.
And then your natural shock group is very good right here. It just happens to be a little low. That's not your eye. That's the factory settings.
I'm going to just lift it up a little bit.
Right. And if there was such a thing as an adjustable sight, we would just tick this up about 3 ticks. You are dead on right here.
Okay.
That's a nice shock group.
Hey, thanks to the coach. Okay, here we go. This is for all the money. That felt great.
Wow. I could see from here. My eyes aren't great, but you were hitting the center of that target.
I don't believe it. And my pace was a little bit faster because the bad guys were coming at me all at once. You can't stop and take your time. You got to do it.
You simulated real action.
That's
all right.
Interesting grouping.
And you adjusted. Look at these, right? Dead on. So an early score.
It's not as close a cluster, but I did get 3 bullseyes.
You sure did.
I feel good about this.
Bullseye. This is great. With only a couple of outliers. And remember, also, you had you took a pause in between some of these shots. Tom, that's some fancy shooting.
Oh, thank you. Hey, thanks. Seriously, I learned a lot, and everybody should bring you along to the range. Let's use some color magic markers so we can see it a little better, and we'll put them side by side here.
Tom, you mind if I add these up?
No. One observation is your grouping is tighter, but I have more bullseyes.
I'll tell you what.
Let's add them up.
Tom, I'd say you're pretty cool under the heat of fire. Okay, so you got 10 points for your bullseyes, 5 points for the surrounding areas, 2, 2, and 2. Gives you a score of 55. All right, let's see how I did. I've got 1 bullseye, then I've got the rest, all 10.
Whoa. That's on the line. In pickleball, the line is, the line's good.
I think the line's in.
The line is in, right.
We're going for the line in, but I only have 1.
Okay.
Versus your 3, 10. And then I've got the rest are all in the 5 point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my goodness. You can't make this up, Tom.
Wow.
We're a dead tie. I'm going to say, since we're Army soldiers, we're a live tie.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much. That's great. I really enjoy this. Now, just for giggles, we're going to do an AR-15. Why do you want to do that?
Okay, AR-15 is great because it's the modern weapon that came after from the Vietnam time frame all the way to present in its different variations. So it's fun to see how AR-15 does versus this M-1 carbine. Remember, M-1 carbine was just supposed to be a very local weapon, only for support soldiers, and it turned out to have a great career.
Okay. Let's set it up. And we're going to compare this to a more modern weapon, as Joe already said, and there is no extra charge for this footage.
What's cool about this, Tom, is that this is an AR-15, just like the M16, M4, slightly modified with the shorter stock. This has never been fired either.
Oh,
so
really?
let's see how we are.
So you're going to zero it in first?
You know what? Let's just see how it does.
Okay. Louder.
All right. Okay, what's great about this is that with a modern weapon that we have the ability to adjust the sights. Even if this is the first time, let's call these outliers. What I would really do is shoot another grouping. But let's assume that we get that grouping nice and tight like this. Once I get three shots within a quarter's diameter, then I know I can move this a click and a half up and about 2 clicks over. And that's what I do for this, so I'm excited to fire this.
Make that adjustment and then let me try it.
Okay. Okay, it's different for every person. So let me leave mine here.
Yeah.
And then let's have you. Remember, your eyes are, every person's eyes are going to be different than the factory setting.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what you got. Okay, so Tom, the AR-15 is a very smooth weapon with a very small kick compared to modern weapons. You can put your nose and your cheek right on the stockwell.
Okay.
Your nose can go almost up to that charging handle,
okay.
and it's going to give you.
I don't know if I
shot.
trust you on that. Just put your nose right in front of that and see what happens.
Your nose, your cheek and nose are logically going to
Okay.
be right here, but they can be flush to that buttstock.
I also noticed it's louder, so I'm sure it's more powder grains.
It's louder, it packs a punch. Remember, the M1 carbine was accurate up to about 75 meters. This is accurate up to 300 meters.
Okay. Hey, if you're going to go into battle, you bring me.
That looks like some fancy shooting.
Let's see how it turned out.
Let's see if you've sandbagged me for 2 weapons in a row.
I got a bullseye.
Okay.
Only one.
Okay.
Oh, wait, on the line.
Okay, this is nice.
Yeah.
This is yours here, also. That's yours.
Oh, is it?
Look at that. Very nice. So with expending a little bit of ammo, and the United States Army has plenty of money for ammo, you took out...
Not always. I do remember some shortages back in the day.
You have taken out an entire squad.
Okay. I'm your man.
Nicely done.
Listen, when it goes down in the neighborhood, you can count on me. We're neighbors, by the way.
You can come over. I keep it right behind the closet door upstairs.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. I had a lot of fun. And most of all, remember D-Day, the guys that sacrificed so much, many wounded, many who died. You've been to the cemetery. It's a moving experience. I'm looking forward to going with Joe, and I'm hoping some of you can join us.
I hope you join us too. Thanks for doing this on D-Day. It's extra special for all the paratroopers and rangers out there we love. Hoorah!
Thank you.